what I was seeing was the use of toxic chemicals in our everyday lives. They are very strong endocrine disruptors, ruining our hormones. Bodywork stuff with the fragrance, that's your Pantene soap, your perfume from Burberry, that's anything, your plugins that you have in your car or your bathroom, the air fresheners. This stuff is toxic and it's accumulating and throwing our hormones off. And when our hormones get off, now we have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now our uterus is overproducing cells. We have endometriosis because our uterus is not fully contracting because our hormones that are connecting our brain to our uterus are all over the place. They're strayed. And so now we're not getting proper release with every cycle, if we're even getting a cycle.
That was Earth Mama Medicine, and this is episode 11. Welcome to the Brave Woman Podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Lynn, founder of Sistership Circle and author of Open Your Heart and The Art of Leading Circle. I'm the mother of 2 girls, an 8 on the Enneagram, aka the Challenger, happily married to my business partner, Brent, love connecting with nature, and have put in well over 10,000 hours circling with other women. On this podcast, we will explore how to embody the brave woman so that you can take action on your dreams and desires, unapologetically speak your truth, and live life on your own terms. Grab a seat and a cup of tea, and let's get started. Oh, I'm so excited to have the beautiful Valadia, who is our Earth Mama Medicine. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yay.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
And we're going to go into all the things about woman. I think we have so many topics to cover today. And one of the things that I love about what I've come across with you is just your vlog and how you just share so much of your life. You're just kind of this open book, and that's just so inspiring. And yet you've made this transition from Broadway actor living in New York City. We were just talking about this. I was also living in New York a while ago, to now living on this 8-acre homestead, living on the land. And so I'd love to just start there with that transition from being an actor, living in New York City, to then going on this completely different trajectory into like herbalist and working with plants and becoming this Earth Mama Medicine carrier. Yeah.
It has been a journey, but it's been one of extreme privilege and joy and ease, if I can be quite honest. My entire life, I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to see my name in lights, famous, acting, dancing, just everything, all of the glitter and gold. So I trained. I got a bachelor's degree in musical theater from one of the top 10 musical theater training schools in the United States. And I was really just on the upward spiral to success. As soon as I graduated, I auditioned and got into 2 Broadway shows. I got to select which one I wanted to be. And I was thinking, I'm on the fast track. I'm like 20 years old. And I began performing in New York City in a show called The Book of Mormon. It's a Tony Award-winning musical that is crazy. It's, for lack of a better term, it's written by the writers of South Park. And I did that in New York City for a bit and then traveled on tour. And when I was on tour, traveling the United States, something clicked within me that made me realize that there was more. My whole life, I thought, once I get on Broadway, that's it. That is my dream. And I was so privileged and blessed enough to attain that dream so young, to where I was like, okay, so what else? This doesn't really feel like I thought it was going to feel. Like that audience applause at the end of the performance is so electrifying, but it's not deeply soul fulfilling. As I was performing, rounding about the end of tour, I decided to start, I guess everybody goes through their awakening via the internet and books. So you start reading Joe Dispenza and watching Abraham Hicks on YouTube and Teal Swan and Ralph Smart and all these teachers and gurus. And that led me to lead a vegan lifestyle, which led me to attain an online certification for holistic nutrition. I started having a passion for food and herbs and what we're putting into our bodies. When I got off of tour, I moved to New York City. That's when I sort of started to dissipate away. I also really was not enjoying how a life of a performer, you are not in charge. There's the illusion that the performer is in charge, but there's an entire team around that performer, your agent and your manager and the casting director and everybody else that's calling all the shots. And as I was going through my awakening, I was craving the freedom to call my own shots. So every audition I was getting after tour, I don't want to be in that show. I don't want to be in that TV. I don't want to be in that. Wow. What are the stories I'm telling? To not go on a long rant, what ended up happening was I stopped auditioning. I dropped my agent, dropped my manager. Everyone in my life thought I was crazy because I was on the fast track and you're just starting out. You don't want to stop there. But I started Earth Mom and Medicine as an Instagram account. It was just a regular old vegan foodie Instagram account with smoothie bowls. And, there's a million of those online. Yeah, after that, it blossomed into what it is now. It had herbal shop and I started training for herbalism. And man, it's so multifaceted, but I'm still able to hold on to that performer aspect through the YouTube channel because I'm using my voice as a storyteller. I plan on putting some music and performance on the channel, hopefully this year.
Amazing. But isn't that so cool how there is a passion in there? There's the essence of like what had you want to be a performer that you can still have and have it your way. You own your YouTube channel. You get to be in charge of that. You get to be the boss lady and still utilize all of that you wanted to do on stage. And so I love that. And I'm so excited for you to bring more of that alive on your channel. How exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting and nerve wracking. It's weird. I can perform in front of thousands of people, but now I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to sing online.
Well, you create so many vlogs and you are constantly doing that. So what do you think that is, that fear or that nervousness around bringing this piece of you to?
For me, I have a long internal battle of perfectionism when it comes to my performing. So when I'm sharing information on YouTube about the uterus or I'm talking about growing my corn, there's a freedom of sharing that information because it's so widespread. But when I'm sharing that very intimate, unique part of myself, which is my voice, man, there's a lot of blocks that come up. And I've been doing a lot of throat chakra work and internal hardcore spiritual work of getting out of that. Attending song circles, before COVID hit, I was trying to do things like that and they would make me feel so weird. I don't know why. It's something about just overthinking it and using my art as something that made me money. And then now, or something that was always that trajectory of being on Broadway and being famous. Now to learning how to fall in love with it as just something that brings me joy is a strange transition because even when I'm singing to my daughter, I find myself like, oh, that was off, or, oh, I didn't really overanalyzing it. She doesn't care. She's enamored when she hears me sing to her. So yeah, it's deep work I'm doing now. And 2021 is the year that I stamped it as I'm gonna fall back in love with just performing and singing for me.
One of the things that we talk about here on the Brave Woman podcast, this is the ultimate brave act that you're talking about, which is amazing that we've already gotten right into it. But one of the things we talk about is the heroine's journey. And your story is the classic heroine's journey. And Maureen Murdoch talks about this, where you get to that apex, you get to that place of like the peak of the mountain, right? Of like, yes, I got on Broadway. And then women are like, nope. And then we do this descent. And that is really the second part from hero's journey to heroine's journey, is into the soul. And so that's really what I hear is you reclaiming your soul. And so it's like that part of you that got back in touch with Mama Earth and the embodiment of that. And now there's this next level for you of the embracing of the voice of your soul, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then the expression of that for the pure joy of expressing that essence in your soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's deep work.
So deep.
Yeah.
Wow. We're both mamas. So you are the earth mama and your connection with the earth. And we'll talk more about herbs and Yoni steaming in a little bit, but let's talk about motherhood and how that's impacted you, and tell us about your little.
My daughter, Aura, is 8 months old today, and she's standing now, and she's just on her way to walking, which is insane to me. She is a vibrant little firecracker who knows what she wants, my little Gemini. She rocked me to the core, bringing her into this world, 88-hour labor, easeful natural birth, but it was a journey. But now she's teaching me to go with the flow of the unexpected, because like I said, I am a perfectionist and I'm a planner. That goes out the window when you become a mom, you know that. Also, I've never dealt with anxiety the way that I have becoming a mother. Whoa. That is a whole nother level. Always felt like I was immune to anxiety. I was one of those insensitive people back in the day saying, well, all you have to do is meditate and be in the present, blah, 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 to people that have real anxiety issues. Now I'm working through it and I'm fine. But there's, like I said with my voice, there's a lot of deep work that I'm doing daily all the time to keep myself grounded, because your mind can go being a mother.
What's the number one thing that makes you anxious?
Harm falling to Aura, something happening to her. And I guess something happening to her, if I can pinpoint it more detailed, and it being my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot. Just even little things will send me down a spiral as she's crawling around the bedroom upstairs, and she gets close to the stairs. And of course I'm right there, but I'm like, what if she fell down the stairs? And then you see it in your head and your heart rates, and it's little things like that that constantly, whew. But I asked my mom about like 3 months in, like, is it normal for me to constantly worry about her getting hurt or dying? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My husband and I dropped a lazy boy on my 1-year-old. And I thought I killed her because she passed out, and I thought I was going to die myself.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most horrific moments. And I had that same thing. I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking that I was like suffocating her, and have just this total terror in the middle of the night. I would like sit up and be in this panic, and then dropping that on her was just the ultimate piece of, wow, yeah, like, and so we rushed her to the hospital, and she's fine. She had a little concussion, but it was just like the worst possible thing. And I remember the nurse saying to us, well, I ran over my kids, so I get it. This happens all the time. Like, we do this all the time, and it's not your fault. And yet there's just something like that mother instinct, right? And that fierce protector that we are, just the fragileness of these little babies, right?
I know, it's so heavy. I am responsible for keeping this human alive. And then for the rest of my life, even when she grows up and moves out, and then that's going to be, even more gut wrenching, because now I can't protect you you're just out there living. And oh gosh, for the rest of my life, I was like, this is really heavy, Mom. Why did we choose to do this? But no, it's so beautiful and amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us about, was there a moment during your birth? So 88 hours of labor, and then you still had a natural birth, yeah? Is it at home?
No, I ended up transferring to the hospital. I was attempting to have her at home, free birth. I had no professionals here. It was just me and my mom and my partner and my aunt. But yeah, there was a time at the end, going on the 4th day as the sun was rising, that I was like, okay, I got to figure out why this is taking so long and what's happening, because God, if I didn't feel like I was open and ready. But ended up, everything was fine. Like, there were really no complications. Her cord was around her neck, but that's very, very common. I mean, 80% of pregnancies, the cord ends up being around the neck. There was nothing alarming happening. Of course, they thought I was psycho when I showed up and told them I'd been at home for 3 days laboring. They were worried because the water had been broken, blah, 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 blah. But What was your question? Like, was there a time that things shifted that I felt fear or?
Well, yeah. So what was that point
Yeah.
that shifted to having her come out for you?
Oh, I think I felt safer when I got to the hospital, if
Mm.
I'm going to be completely honest with myself. And that is not easy to say because I do not trust the hospital system when it comes to birth. I think a lot of things that they're doing are not for women, are not for birthing people. I don't, for babies, I think there's a lot wrong. So it was a very conscious intention to not step foot in the hospital for my prenatal care and or birth. After all of the training I'd given myself, I read so many books. I took the free birth course. Me and my partner were ready. And I hadn't grounded myself into the reality of this being my responsibility. I wanted a mother-centered birth, and that's why I chose to free birth. But I think the responsibility of me being the one in charge and feeling like I was also this baby who needed to be taken care of complicated things for me in my head. And maybe that was why I was progressing and getting 2 minutes, 1 minute apart contractions and then going back to 6 and then progressing and then going back to 5, 6. If I'm going to be completely honest, if my mom's listening, I love you, mom. But I also think having my mother and my aunt there who are very much so believers in the medical system and they both work in hospitals, their nervous energy and the way that they attended my birth also I think was a little bit detrimental to me. If it's not helpful to go backwards, but if it was just my partner and I who were fully feeling like we were ready to do it, it might have gone faster and I might have had her at home. But there was a lot of nervous energy with my mom, as understood, because if I'm there for Aura's birth, it's probably going to be so hard for me to watch her going through that pain and everything, you know? But yeah, it was a journey. And I think when I got there, I knew nothing is like, of course I was ready. I came in there with my shield, like, know this, know that, know this, know that. When we came in the hospital, but there was still 3 nurses around me. Everyone's checking me. Everyone's looking at me. Everyone's talking to me, telling me what to do. And I could just focus on my body. I think that might have, because once I got there, 2 hours passed and she was out.
I think you have a point there with how people's energy can affect us. And that then when you step into more of this secure container, then it felt like, okay, I can finally let go now.
Yes.
Mom's not in charge.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that honesty and just that story with us.
Yeah.
And I'd love for us to talk a little bit about Yoni steaming, because that's one of your things. I think it's been something that so many women have been discovering or are curious about. And so what has been your journey with Yoni steaming? And now you even sell it in your store, right?
I sure do.
So tell us.
My journey with Yoni steaming is I had just left an abusive partner in New York City, and I was invited to a 3-day women's only slumber party in Brooklyn with a friend of mine. She was actually a master's student when I was undergrad at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, and that's how I met her. She invited me to this 3-day women's party. I hadn't seen this woman in like 2 years. So I show up, everyone's like topless and everyone's like, it's totally hippied out. We're taking mushrooms and dancing and having a good time. And this elder in the community, this elder Black woman with a shaved head, and she just like looked like such a goddess. She came in and introduced herself and had the most intriguing energy and said she was going to teach us Yoni steaming. I had never heard of it. I had never done it, but yeah, I don't know how much I can say on this podcast, but we were all on mushrooms. And then we were all in a circle and she put the pots and the steam and gave us all the herbs and put some ganja in it too. And we all sat in this circle holding hands. And I was like, what is this? I'm totally down for it. And then something happened within me. It was the push for me to, I think, yeah, actually that day was the day I started Earth Mama Medicine. Yeah, it was the day that I like laid on her couch that evening and started the Instagram and started. Yeah, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just putting that together. So it became something very important to me because it was a healing ceremony that we did it. Not necessarily that I felt anything anatomically change that night, but spiritually I did. A year later, my partner and I are living in our van. We left New York City. We're traveling around the United States, having fun, living the life. I'm invited to teach at a women's gathering called Origins Gathering in Northern California. It's great, a wonderful gathering. She knew me as Earth Mom Medicine and was like, just come teach about veganism or whatever you want to teach, and you can get a free ticket. And I thought, great. But I thought, let me teach about yoni steaming. I don't really know that much about it, but it feels so good that I think I'm just going to do some research, get the herbs and whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to be sharing more than teaching with these women. That was also something that was a catalyst because after teaching, oh my God, every day of the festival, I'm sitting in this red tent yurt with 10 women. They're on their Yoni Simi boxes. I'm sharing herbs. We're telling stories. Women are crying, telling me their traumatic lives and their joyous times. And oh my God, it's such a bonding, beautiful experience. So when I'm leaving Northern California, we're realizing we have all these herbs in our van. We live in our van, so we cannot have all this stuff in here. I need to get rid of them. I get on the Instagram, which has like 8,000 followers now. It's still fairly small. And I'm like, does anybody want these herbs? And then I will put them in a Ziploc bag and mail them to you. Just write me in my Instagram DMs. Those sold out in the first day. And I had like 100 bags to get rid of. It was so many herbs I bought. So I thought, okay, I'm onto something here. I am going to continue to do this because it's joy. It's something that brings me joy, something that brings people medicine. Let's do it. And that is how the Earth Mom Medicine Yoni Steaming Blend came about, which is still our number one most popular product that sells out every time we restock it. We actually just restocked at 12 today. It's 12:30 now. And it's probably sold out if I made time to check it. It goes like that. I'm so blessed to be sharing this medicine with women because I've had reviews all the way from I've been trying to get pregnant for 5 years and I finally got pregnant after steaming, or I went to my OBGYN and my cysts are gone, and it brings me real happiness now to share it.
Well, we'll have the link to that in our show notes, everyone. So if you want to go and check out her Yoni Steaming Magical Blend, just check that out. And maybe you got to get in there right away, it sounds like, if you want it. What's the number one thing that women need to know when they're steaming? And also, could you tell us about your blend and what makes it so special?
Absolutely. My blend is an all-encompassing blend, meaning it has the properties that you would want to have in a steam, no matter what you're going through. If you're using it for infections, it's got herbs that will cure infections. If you're using it for fertility, it's got fertility boosting herbs, red raspberry leaf, motherwort. If you're looking for moisture, you're experiencing dryness, it's got calendula, it's got rosemary, moisturizing, enhancing herbs. If you are premenopausal, postmenopausal, it includes a wide array of herbs. So it's got red raspberry, motherwort, yarrow, calendula, rosemary, rosebuds. Am I leaving any out? Wormwood. Wormwood's great for possible infections. And it's gentle. It's very gentle. And there are many Yoni steams on the market that include other herbs for different things that I would say to make sure you do your research. But when it comes to my blend, I just put all gentle healing herbs in there. So it's good for anyone. I'd say things to look out for if you're interested in Yoni steaming is to make sure you research how you're going to Yoni steam. Anytime you Google Yoni steam and you get all these mainstream articles from OBs and doctors and medical people saying that it's dangerous because the steam is so hot and you could burn yourself and it's dangerous, it's dangerous, it's dangerous. Just be mindful. It's hot steam. If you're going to be using it, you have to be very mindful and gentle with yourself. It's a very gentle part of your body, very delicate. That skin is delicate. So that, and also it's wonderful for a womb preparation for fertility. But if you're actively trying to get pregnant, I wouldn't steam while you're actively trying to get pregnant because it will help the uterus contract a bit. And that's why it's so wonderful for one of the most widespread conditions that women are getting right now, or being diagnosed with, I should say, is PCOS and endometriosis. I'm getting emails every day, messages every day, women. And I just read actually a couple of weeks ago that it was up to like 60% of women now have PCOS or endometriosis or some sort of cysts, fibroids. I'm like, what's happening? And we know there's a list of things that are causing this, but there are natural ways for us to mitigate these issues, which are not including birth control, which is what everyone is being put on. I think now it's what 75% of the American population of women is on birth control. Huh. Woo. And I'm not judging. Birth control can serve you if you want it to, but it's not a fix all for hormonal or uterine reproductive issues. So things that cause our PCOS and endometriosis, I think one of the main things I'm seeing in people, and when I used to do one-on-one coachings, what I was seeing was the use of toxic chemicals in our everyday lives. They are very strong endocrine disruptors, ruining our hormones. And that's your Bath and Body Works stuff with the fragrance. That's your Pantene soap. That's your perfume from Burberry. That's anything, your plugins that you have in your car or your bathroom, your air fresheners. This stuff is toxic and it's accumulating and throwing our hormones off. And when our hormones get off, now we have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now our uterus is overproducing cells. We have endometriosis because our uterus is not fully contracting because our hormones that are connecting our brain to our uterus are all over the place. They're strayed. And so now we're not getting proper release with every cycle, if we're even getting a cycle. So we're getting hardened endometrium around the uterus, which is why Yoni steaming is so wonderful, because it will help loosen that endometrium and you will release that. So a lot of times people will steam and they'll email me like, hey, I steamed it right after I had like some spotting. Good. Your uterus was cleaning out. It's fine. And it's a common thing that happens, actually, a little bit of spotting, or sometimes it'll regulate out because now it was able to clean itself a bit. But I'm ranting now. I feel like I'm getting lost because when I get on this topic, I start. But yeah, toxic chemicals is big. Stress is big. And I recommend, if we can, save up a few appointments of getting your nails done and get your hormones tested, because we might not even know until something alarms us. Once we get the acne, once we get the painful ovulation, once we get it's too late. Now we're feeling what's already been going on for a while. So it's nice to be preventative, using natural things, eating well. It's a long list.
But what you just said is really important, because skin products, the hair products, the fragrances, we don't realize the impact that they're having on our health as women.
Yeah.
And the whole beauty industry, it's so toxic. So I think you just brought up a really good point to actually start looking at the labels of the products in your home for your skin, and to start to become more mindful of what you're putting in your body and in the air of your home. And I didn't realize that it was having such an impact on women's reproductive systems.
It is. And fragrance is one of the number one endocrine disruptors out there. Fragrance. It's so unfortunate too, because I love my candles and things like that. But now I'm switching to essential oil diffusers and, lotions that smell good. Too bad. It's not good for you. Anything, if you look on the back and it says fragrance, out of here. I know, it's sad.
Yeah, but we can't. So the alternatives are essential oils.
Essential oils. There's so many companies out there making natural perfumes. I actually just ordered one, livinglibations.com. I forgot her name, but yeah, she has a ton of natural perfumes all made with essential oil blends, and I was spraying it on myself and I feel good and everything. You can look him up, natural perfumes, or I have tons of hair lotions, all sorts of products that are natural. It's fairly easy to find them now, because we're in this wellness age where we're rising. I think 10, 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't.
Yeah. So I'd love to also just transition into herbs. And as someone who's an herbalist and you've created this magical blend for the Yoni, what are some of the other most common herbs or blends that you are creating that you're recommending for women's health in general?
For women's health, my number one herb recommendation is red raspberry leaf. Whether you are wanting to conceive or not, it is a full reproductive system strengthener, tonic, toner. And when you're looking at women's herbs, you will often see strengtheners and toners, because our reproductive system is so active. There's so much physical movement happening within that. Very often we are the pulsars. Unlike men, our uterus contracts way more than we actually think it does. And at times when we're not even menstruating. So you always want to tonify and strengthen that. And red raspberry leaf is a wonderful, wonderful herb. It's got tons of minerals and vitamins that will also help with overall reproductive health. Nettle is another one that's not in my Yoni blend. It's not very beneficial for steaming purposes, but for internal drinking purposes, I drink infusions with it very often. There's a YouTube video on my channel, Earth Mama Medicine, talking about herbal infusions, and it makes it very simple for you to learn how to do it. And nettle is a great herb for infusions. It is extremely potent. Tons of polyphenols, which are antioxidants that will help with any cancer scares you might have, abnormal cells. Also, hearing a lot of women that are going to get pap smears and coming back with abnormal cells, abnormal readings. So herbs like that can help just tonify everything and have our cells down there reacting a little bit better. So those are pretty much my top two, nettle and red raspberry. There's a wide array out there, but I like to keep it simple when it comes to the herbal world. And when we can dose ourselves highly using things like infusions or tinctures with these simple ones, I find the body reacts better than a wide array of a ton of them. So red raspberry, nettle, oat straw is also a big ally of mine. Yeah.
So what would be the difference between an infusion and a tincture, and why would you recommend one over the other?
Okay, so a tincture is just a alcohol infusion of an herb. So I'll put about a third in a jar, fill that up with organic 100 proof vodka or brandy, something like that. And the alcohol pulls out all of the medicine from the herb, especially when you're dealing with herbs that don't infuse as well as teas, like burdock root, any strong roots. I find tinctures work really well because the alcohol can pull it all the way out. Like if you get a ginger tincture, you're really getting that ginger medicine versus just dropping the ginger root in hot water. You're getting like 5% of the ginger medicine that you could have gotten in a tincture that's really going to pull all that medicine out. And an infusion is basically a strong, strong, strong tea. So instead of just putting the tea bag in hot water, which I personally tell people that when you drink just a little tea bag, and I do it all the time, you're drinking more for the flavor and the energetic experience of the herb than you are really for the medicine, because it's just a small amount in that tea bag. But when you drink for the medicine, you make an infusion. You're putting a big, like 1 cup of herbs in a jar, filling it with hot water and leaving it for a minimum of 4 hours. So that hot water it's steeping it strong. You know, when you leave your green tea bag in for way too long and you drink it, whoa, it's super strong. Yeah, because you let it infuse for a while. So an infusion is a lot. So it's not usually the best tasting way of having your herbs, and that's why tea is great. But man, it's gonna serve you well physically. But I guess it just depends on the herb, because some herbs don't work well as tinctures and others do. Like I was saying, roots and things like that. Like my other very popular product called Balance Back is an herbal antibiotic, and that is made with Pau d'Arco bark. And that bark is antiviral, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory. It is a strong, strong bark. So when I infuse it for 6 weeks in organic vodka, 100 proof, you're taking that, your yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis. I have to be careful what I claim, on my store, but yep. I have read herpes, tons of HPV, it blasts out of the park. And I've had clients that have had things like that they've seen huge improvements, and their doctors are like, what? I had a woman who had an infection that she was on 3 rounds of antibiotics. And then they didn't know it was like some sort of infection. Then they diagnosed it as staph infection, and the antibiotics weren't working. But then she took my tincture, gone. That's how strong herbs can be when we use alcohol. So yeah, if you're really needing the medicine, I prefer a tincture.
And for you listening, we'll have all of those links that we just mentioned on the show notes. So head on over there and you could just click those links. So quick question for you about me. So I guess the day after I ovulate, and I think you kind of mentioned that, which is what brought it up, I get a little ovary cramp. Is that normal, you think? Or is that something maybe I should be checking out
If it's not something that's very strong, I think it's pretty normal. Most women will experience a little bit of discomfort during ovulation, but if it's having you I have to take pain medication, yeah, then that's when I tell my clients, okay, we have to go in and dive deeper and see what's up.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, my husband and I were just having a conversation about now that I've hit 40, he's like, maybe you should go get your hormones checked. And so I was curious. I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, definitely. But I was wondering if I should check what part of my cycle should I actually do the hormone check?
Mhm. It's so complicated
Mm-hmm.
because it also depends on what you're testing for.
Mm.
Are we going to be looking for free T3, free T4? Now we're looking for testosterone, so we're going to want to wait until the luteal phase. Are we going to? So it's really complicated. If I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't really mastered that hormone testing side of it. I'm still educating myself on how to best test. But I can recommend a doctor, Dr. Jolene Brighton, who I have her book Beyond the Pill. It's fantastic. She's a hormone specialist, and she even says that it's super finicky to try and test your hormones, but she might have more information on that than I will because I'm learning from her right now, reading her book. And yeah, I want to get mine tested too. And you just hit 40, 100%. That'd be a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's transition a little bit to manifestation. And you have been a manifesting queen. Your Instagram account and your YouTube, and like, woo, you got out there, right? And and then also the homestead that you've called in.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot that we can cover around what you've manifested and what's kind of been your little secret sauce.
Absolutely. There's many secret sauces that go into this extraordinary secret meal. I'll start by saying we know that there is such thing as the placebo effect. We see in medical studies where half of the people are given the actual drug, the other half are given a placebo, a sugar pill. And the people that get the sugar pill sometimes have better, faster healing results than the people who got the actual drug. What is that telling us? The power of the mind is so potent and strong. We can literally heal our bodies, change our cells, change the vibration within and around us by our thoughts, our actions, our voice, what we're speaking, what we're writing, what we're listening to, what thoughts we're repeating. When I discovered manifestation, there's so many words for it, law of attraction, secret, but just basically that this world, our reality, is a reality of vibration. So you have low vibration and you have high vibration. Your thought, your dreams, everything that you want is of high vibration because that brings you joy. So anytime throughout my day, and I'm vibrating low, I'm upset because my partner took too long at the store and I'm home with the baby and I'm just like around, or just little things like that. I'm vibrating low. I am not on the plane that my dreams exist on. It sounds so woo-woo, and it's like every time I start describing it, I see people's eyes rolling. Probably because it's actually happened to me when I'm teaching it live sometimes, but that's okay.
Probably not this audience.
Good. But it's real. So, accept it or not, it's 100% real because when I started using the techniques, now here's the secret sauces. There's a few techniques that I use to make that which I want come about into my reality quicker, better, whatever that may be. One of them will be affirmations. I constantly speak my reality into existence. So if I feel a little scratch into my throat, I'm not sick. I feel amazing. My lungs are working wonderfully. I am expanding into great health. I mean, I'm just all day speaking these things out into vibration, and then I won't be sick. It might not always work, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's an example. So affirmations are a daily practice of mine. I constantly speaking to myself in the mirror about that which I already have, even if I don't have it yet. I do have it in my mind, and it's already on its way to me. A vision board. I have one here in my office now. We constantly update our vision board, which is how we got this house. You are constantly seeing, you're walking past your kitchen, wherever you put your vision board, and you're seeing that which you desire. It always calibrates you into a high vibration, because no matter what you're doing, you look over and you see that house that you want so badly. Is what I'm doing right now working towards that house? Or am I scrolling through Instagram looking at stuff that I don't even care about? Okay, let me move on to the next thing. So for us, we put a picture of a rust-colored A-frame cabin on our vision board a couple years ago. And my dad lives half a mile down the dirt road. He's got 60 acres. So I said, Dad, what if because we had just lived in the van, we were living with my mom. We didn't really, we were just all like just living on people's couches. And I said, what if we built a little A-frame that looks like this on your land? Because you have all this land you're not doing anything with. He said, sure, I don't care. That's great. And you'll be close to me, whatever. We'll build a tiny home. But he said, did you see the house at the end of the road? I was like, no, what do you mean? And he's like, well, it looks just like that picture. And the only reason why he had been at the end of the road, we grew up on this. I grew up on this road. We'd lived here for over 25 years, is because his dog got out the day before and he drove all the way at the end of this road for the first time ever to ask if they'd seen his dog. And we get on the back of his pickup truck. He's like, come on, I'll show you. We ride to the end of the road and it looks exactly like the picture on our vision board. And we'd been calling it in for months. It's there. It's a big rust-colored A-frame cabin that was a half a mile away from my childhood home.
Yeah, you can't make this up.
What? And the only reason why I knew about it the day before was because of the dog. And then this couple living here was an older couple that just said they were putting it on the market in a few weeks.
Of course.
So I'm just saying there's little examples like that have constantly happened to my life where I've just been coasting ever since I've been using these techniques. Affirmations, vision boards, and the last one would probably be thought rehearsal. So Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, a lot of people talk about your feelings being information and how the brain does not know the difference between the actual event happening and the thought of the event happening. So like I was saying, being a mother, when we imagine our daughter or our child falling down the stairs, it's not just a thought. Your heart's racing, your cells, everything in you is reacting as if she actually fell down the stairs. So when we let ourselves cycle through thoughts over and over of bad things happening or how unhappy we are, we're constantly reinforcing that in our body. And that's what our body's used to. And that's what our body's looking for. The sadness, the anxiety, the bad things. So thought rehearsal is a very easy way for us to start training our body, reprogramming our computer to expect, receive, and be used to happiness and joy. So we're practicing. We're saying, anytime we and it's so difficult. I deal with it every day, but anytime we feel ourselves thinking a negative thought, we just redirect it. A friend of mine was really upset about her willpower of trying to lose weight and eating healthy. She says, every time it was time for me to be hungry, I didn't want to go to the healthy thing. So we just started doing thought rehearsal with her. She started rehearsing before she ate her lunch. She started rehearsing in her mind. I'm eating the salad. It tastes amazing. I feel so much joy feeling the crunch of the vegetables that the earth provided for me. It sounds so corny, but that's what she started doing so that her mind knew, okay, we're accepting this experience. We're not wishing we were having McDonald's right now. Because when we start, that's the reason why weight loss is so hard for some people. Your body, everything in your body is like, this sucks. Working out sucks. Stop. It's trying to save itself. The ego is trying to save itself. So it's back into its comfort zone. Eating the salad. It's like, stop. So thought rehearsal helps that. And those are my techniques. And
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. What I'm really hearing too is we've been talking a lot with various guests about spiritual hygiene, like keeping ourselves clean and clear. Right. And it really fits into that of thought rehearsal, affirmations. It's all about the mind and keeping, because that's what you said is like this, like keeping that ease and grace in your life because you're keeping a clean and clear mind field for
Yeah.
yourself, a mental field that's clear and clean, and you're not putting a bunch of junk in your head, or you're doing, you're canceling it out, or, hey, I'm noticing myself getting negative.
Yeah.
And so you've created this clearing essentially for yourself that I believe is a type of spiritual hygiene. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll leave you with to put a button on it. If anyone ever gets lost in the world of vibration of low, high, how do I know I'm vibrating high? We know if we can embody a God-like persona. And this doesn't mean religion, doesn't mean any certain deities. It just means, what do we see commonly within all religious deities, within the thought of God? That is unconditional love. That's what it is. That's what every religious text says. So at any time where we're feeling lost and we have no idea which direction to put ourselves in to try to get back on track, Godlike. Okay, I can be Godlike. How can I have unconditional love for myself right now, for this experience, for this specific moment? Oh, it's so releasing.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I'd love for us to be ending with forgiveness. And this is something that you've wanted to share, and this goes perfectly with having unconditional love for yourself and others. Well, let's talk a little bit about forgiveness and your experience. Yeah.
Forgiveness there was a big theme of forgiveness throughout my pregnancy and throughout my immediate postpartum, what I consider to be still very early motherhood. Because when you're pregnant, everything changes, especially when you have a big community of people who are not parents yet, and they don't understand what you're going through, and or they might not be able to empathize with your very intense transformation. While I was pregnant, I lost like 60% of my friends, not out of intention. I felt like I was sharing love with everyone, but I noticed how people did not know, or maybe they just weren't interested in, being a part of my new life, being a part of that new Valadia that is now living out here on my homestead with my chickens and my garden and my man and my cabin. And I'm pregnant and I am transforming every single moment. And friends started dropping off, stopped checking on me. I'm sending videos of like my baby kicking, look how cool this is, and like not responding. And I'm like, wow, it was so hard for me. I lost one of my best friends of over 14 years because he just didn't really know how to be there for a pregnant person. I wasn't asking anything of him, just like common talking and stuff. So it sent me through a spiral of relearning what forgiveness is, and true forgiveness is not attached to any expectations at all. True forgiveness is just for you. I think I finally sat with it now, because looking at my beautiful daughter, I have no room for any extra baggage. She needs, like you said, the best spiritual hygiene possible from me. So what's the best thing I can do for me and for her is to always have forgiveness, to keep my spiritual hygiene. I love that. I'm going to use it all the time now, spiritual hygiene, to keep it in tip-top shape. It was great that you segued, because whenever we don't know how to forgive, it's just unconditional love. I still love him, even though he doesn't talk to me anymore. I still love everyone. I have so much love and joy for anything that they do in their life, but I'm just going to keep on chugging along on this pathway, because everything happens in divine timing.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So in wrapping up, I want to ask you two questions. One is, this is the Brave Woman podcast, and you've definitely exemplified your bravery in the world. But what do you think is the number one thing for a woman to be brave?
I guess what I wish I could see for all women would be the bravery to remain grounded. It takes bravery for us to remain grounded, because we are a powerful species that makes this world turn round. And you have to really face yourself to stay grounded and remain a matriarch figure in your community. And maybe that's what I'm tasting now. So that's the most relevant for me. But that takes bravery to hold your own and to know what you want and to demand what you want and to not be afraid of what anyone thinks of you because it's for them, not for you. That takes bravery.
Whew, chills. Wow, power. And then is there anything that we've missed? Any last thing that you want to share with our audience today? And this has just been such a wonderful interview and time together.
I guess with all the things we talked about with manifestation, right now it seems like the world is upside down. But I hope we all can understand, like I said, that everything happens in divine timing. And let us not forget that we can do manifestation work within ourselves that will bleed out into the collective. And the more we do that, the more we operate from unconditional love, it will bleed out and we will heal collectively. Keep your spirits high, keep your spiritual hygiene clean, spread love. We'll make it out of this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the Brave Women podcast. And everyone listening, we've got tons of links, tons of goodies for you to go check out in the show notes, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
You just listened to this show. I'd love for you to leave the Brave Woman podcast an honest review. Reviews help podcasts like this one grow, making it more possible for me to devote my time, energy, and money to its production. If you take a screenshot of your review and email it to support@sistershipcircle.com, we'll send you one of our archetype activations as a thank you gift. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Up next, this is for all the parents out there who are looking for alternative education resources and ideas. Carrie McDonald, author of Unschooled, is joining me in the next episode to talk about homeschooling, unschooling, and how to get out of the traditional school system.